Nole Nation, welcome into an extremely, and I don't say this too often, guys, this is an extremely special episode of the Renegade Rundown. As always, my beautiful co-host at Jen Santi 1890. You can find her on X. We've got Chris Frazier of Spear Addicts Media, a regular contributor, done the world for me. I go on his show from time to time. We really appreciate Chris. But the guest of honor today, been trying to get him on here for a while. He's super busy. He's the 2013 national champion, co-star of the hit show, The Roll Up, right here on YouTube. Our guy, Kenny Shaw, is Raw, class of 2013. You see the golden crystal trophy right there behind him. JB holding that thing up. Or is that you holding the trophy? What's going on, Kenny?
How y'all doing, man? Thank you for having me. Sorry it took so long, man. We long overdue.
Man, thank the good Lord. All four of us on the screen have been so busy. I was talking to you before the show, like we got to meet at the spring game, and it's crazy. We're coming up on a year ago and just the progress and what everything's happened. You were talking to me about my little thing I had going. You don't even think you had an intentions of really starting to do a podcast or anything like that. And then all of a sudden you came on the game and just have been killing it. So it's absolutely awesome. And we're just happy to have you.
Nah, hey, busy is good. So y'all on the right track.
That's right, man. Man, that freaking, and we'll get into it, the college football playoff and everything, but I'd be remiss. We got to talk about QB1. We've been waiting on this decision forever. And I'll let Jen open up this, do her victory lap, because, we kind of, on this show, you guys might think we're mad at each other. It seems like we're hollering at each other, going back and forth. But me and Jen love each other. We like to have, some debate. I like to play the devil's advocate sometimes. And, most of the time she ends up being right. But who did Florida State end up getting at QB1 there, Jen?
Well, I believe it's DJU, and I am going to do my victory lap. It's very hard to be right. And this, honestly, it doesn't have anything to do with it. I just always heard really for Cam that he really wanted the NFL. And I was actually hearing Ohio State more, and Ohio State apparently never really, materialized with him, which is interesting now that they're reaching out to Will Howard.
Unfortunately, Jen, I think you have the demon in the microphone again.
All right, I'm gonna get out. I'll get back in.
But yeah, she was DJU from the bat, man. What do you think, Kenny? Were you pumped up? Well, I don't know if you were pulling for more for Cam or DJU, but I know I'm fired up.
Hey, these kids, these portal stuff will hurt your feelings. So I'm like halfway invested. Now that I'm watching football now from an outsider, so I knew it would be a toss-up between the two of them, but I didn't expect for it to take this long. But I see it was like a cat mice game with it. You never know what's up, if it's a money offer, if it's a roster switch up. But once I saw Tate transfer in the portal, I knew something was going to come about with it. So
yeah, writing was on the wall, man, with the NFL thing, really.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they still got to perform on game one. So I'm just happy we got a quarterback, though.
For sure. He's got to come in and prove it. But I think, we agree 100%. We were like to the point where what else can we say about this thing? It kind of really was unprecedented how long it went compared to how those portal things usually go. But at the end of the day, the thing we really harped on, I think it was more of a NFL or Florida State decision for both Cam and DJU. And I'm interested to hear what Chris has to say on it. And just when it didn't work out, Cam picked the NFL. It was like, bam, luckily DJU decided to give it one more go. And he's coming to Tallahassee, like Chris has been talking about. We're going to get that blood transfusion. He's already got the garnet and gold pumping in one side. And what's left of that orange and black and all those other colors are gone. And it's DJU, Chris. We got our guy.
I'll tell you, the person I was impressed with the most after the commitment was made public, as far as he's coming to Florida State, was his girlfriend that used to play volleyball for Clemson. She said that garnet is greater than orange. That was cool because she's actually an alumni from Clemson. So I don't think she must have had a great experience at Clemson. Is the only thing I can say. But I said it for a while. Like, I don't care which one of the two we get, whether it been Cam, whether it been DJU. I more or less told people the negatives of both instead of the positives, because I want people to pay attention to this time, because I think a lot of people forgot where Jordan started versus where he ended up as far as developing into who he is. So I'm trying to point out, here's the negatives of DJU Uiagalelei. But if you look at him, he has this issue, this issue, this issue. And this is where I think they're going to, as far as Tony Tokarz goes, as far as Mike Norvell goes and the offensive coordinator and Alex Atkins, how they're going to benefit this young man in protection, because he gets a little bit happy feet at times in his career where he's getting out of the pocket before he necessarily has to. He's got to realize that he's 6'5", 250 pounds at times. He doesn't realize it. That was a negative that I brought up about him. But when you get the offensive line basically is returning, you're going to have the protection that he needs. And then you're adding, you need to add a wide receiver or two that maybe even come from the same school that his favorite target was. You add somebody like that to give him that comfortability right off the bat.
Yeah, from a player's perspective, that's something I guess I would ask Kenny about DJU coming in. Like, as much as we want to hype it up and act like it's plug and play, at the same time, we've got a lot of great receivers at Florida State. We've seen receivers come in and have success immediately, but how tough is that? And like, I guess kind of how do you see that unfolding? Him getting in here, what does he need to do to like get with his wide receivers? How quick can you make that happen?
Well, that's on, like I said, like Chris kind of mentioned, these kids are the only ones who really know what's going to happen at the end of the day. They got like a hidden little chat, and they know where they're going. So this is the time now to hone in on that connection and just get it down packed before you get put into a system. And truthfully, like you say, he got to break through with some confidence. Like, he's 6'5", what?
254.
Oh man, yeah. He got to break in with some confidence. But I do get it when you traumatized from getting hit so much. That I can see why a quarterback can get happy feet. But I think the system is going to change up a little bit, and that happens with certain styles of quarterback. So I'm anxious to see what it's going to be. But I do like the trajectory of it, just because our coaching staff, like, we got a hell of a coaching staff, and I'm a Mike Norvell fan. The man, literally, he probably can get me to give him a couple snaps. That's how much he can motivate someone. So I'm anxious to see how it all turns out. And I can't forget about the young man Brock, man. He got some balls getting in there. 2 toughest games of his career, ACC and a Georgia game. So
I was about to say, how big is that for him? I feel like DJU is going to teach him, and like I keep wanting to call Cromenhawk Tate. I'm not going to do it. Cromenhawk and Brock. How, like, that's got to be awesome having DJU come in for 1 year. People act like they're going to be mad, but I'm like, it's 1 year. You're talking about a freshman and a redshirt freshman.
And also too, is football. You never know what happens, as we saw this year. So I was just happy to see that young man get some reps, some actual game time reps, and you can just see the how he pivoted from ACC game to the Georgia game, even though the score wasn't what we anticipated. But he kind of showed a new leaf. Like, he looked more confident. He was airing it out, and he doesn't have a bad touch on his deep ball. So it's like, I'm happy for the young man. So I had to give him a shout out before the whole DJU, because he has played before DJU in this system.
Facts. We love Brock, man, and you hit the nail on the head. The growth that you saw just from, and he didn't even have the whole bowl prep as the starter. Tate pulled his whole thing. It was really only for about a week that game plan was his. But I seen somebody had a good question, and we can all talk about it. They said it, but they were asking Kenny, of course. They said, Kenny, good question for Kenny. How do you think DJU affects portal receivers? I mean, I know, like you said, you can't really get too excited about these guys till you get them. But shoot, you have a better chance getting Evan Stewart and, the Silas kid and some of these stud wide receivers all of a sudden when you have basically a senior quarterback, I think.
I think Florida State University in itself holds weight in just the portal game. I know a lot of people like to troll and say that's all our system is portal players, but it's like, you can't stop
Speak on it. Jeez,
you can't
man.
stop a kid from wanting to be around great coaching and a great tradition. So it's like, I don't know, but I think that like I said, he's not a bad quarterback. He just got to get a little bit more confident and just and this is not a tough fan base. If I'm being honest, it's not a tough fan base to jump into, year one, definitely coming off a year like this. This was a historical year for many of reasons. First team undefeated, not going to the playoffs. We had a hell of a year, up and downs, but we was resilient. So he got some big shoes to fill, no doubt. But that's why we play this game. So we'll see.
Man, what's it going to look like through that ACC schedule? I'm just thinking about DJU and his potential. Like, it's going to matter when we get into those big games. Obviously, your rivalry games, we make it to the championship. But I'm really curious what everybody has, to say about that. I just, people want to talk crap about fullback, this and that. No, he's not. He's a quarterback. He's more of a true kind of pocket quarterback than J Trav. People are saying, is he going to be better or worse than J Trav? It's not a better or worse thing. It's just going to be a little different. It's going to look a little different, a little bit close to Norvell's normal stuff. But in my eyes, I feel like most of these teams, he's going to be able to, it's going to totally change all the short yardage we've had. Like, the offensive line is also obviously getting more athletic. It's getting younger. Armella, these guys are starting to step up. They're going to bring more people. But, like, what ACC team or team on the schedule next year outside of Notre Dame is going to be able to really give us trouble? Like, I'm getting more hyped for 2024, every day that goes by.
Well, we know it's not Miami, so
that's true.
I don't know. It's like I said, it's one of them things where we just got to see with that finalization of the fall schedule and roster of what's going to be what. So, because again, I guess there's one more period where players can make more decisions on leaving and going. This is crazy. It's too much for me. So I give it to all the podcasts and the people who follow recruiting, because they would have said I was the most hated troll ever, because this is too much.
It is, man. It's crazy, man. What do you think, man? How do you think he fits in, Chris?
As far as DJ goes?
Yeah.
I'll compare it to 2013's national title champion team that the gentleman below me was part of, and then following into the next year of 2014, where we lose to Oregon, which I'm not trying to bring up bad memories, but and this is from the outside looking in, the offensive line was most responsible for you not being able to do the things that you were able to do a year before. The offensive line that DJU is leaving is much like 2014. I can't say that this offensive line is the 2013 national title team, but I can say that it's an improvement compared to what he had at where he's coming from. I don't want to talk ill of anyone, but the offensive line that he's got, the coaches that are going to be around him, the scheme, the game plan that fits him, because I think that's what they did in 2013. I think that Jimbo and whomever else had all of the things to do with offensive plays. They formed that around the guys of what they could do better than everybody else or do well. And, like, I don't know what Kenny's favorite route is, but I know that coaching staff knows. The ones that coached him knew if we put Kenny in this situation, he's going to ball out for us. And then Jameis, I thought Jameis's favorite target was Kenny. That's what I saw. And then I think Rashad was another one that he felt comfortable with. A lot of people give Kelvin a lot of, hype for him being the size that he was and obviously scoring that last touchdown. But you have to look at the whole body of work. And I think DJ is going to have the offensive line that he needs to be able to stay in the pocket as long as he needs to, the necessary amount of time. And then I really think that the young guys, like Hakeem Williams and Drevius Jacobs and so on, are going to be good enough wide receivers for him to get what we need. But I think if you add just one or two veteran guys that he can really connect with, it's just it's like a coaching moment, but players are coaching players on this is how we do it when you become a veteran. Because Kenny was really good at, like, I didn't watch other wide receivers as crisp and make their cuts. And it's just, route runners are route runners. You don't have to be the fastest guy. You don't have
Kenny emphasized them things, man. It was fun to watch. There's no doubt.
I think that DJ's. I'm not going to compare him to Jameis Winston. I can't do that, but
A little early for those.
I
But
can
look,
see that he's got a good opportunity with what's coming.
Yeah.
yeah, my thing is I go back to what you said about Oregon State and even think back to Clemson's year. Like he's done more with less. And we saw it once he was gone and what the first, 6 weeks of the season looked like for Clemson without him. Like he was holding that thing, together with, straws and freaking duct tape. And not to cut everybody off, I know Jen's been kind of quiet down there.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, is my sound better? I guess I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Well, we know how I feel. I'm not gonna get technical because nobody really wants to hear a woman get technical about football, so I'm not gonna go there. But
They will listen to you sing the phone book, Jen.
So, but what I'm thinking, me with DJ, I'm just excited to beat Clemson with DJ. Petty is my favorite color. I think I'm gonna start making the t-shirts.
Coming soon to the store.
Oh yeah, I think so. Coming soon to the store. I can't wait. We're gonna have t-shirts for that. I just got to figure out a logo, kind of something. It's kind of something funny, but I want to, kind of needle Clemson with that too. And I might put in a Miami shot because I don't know if you guys saw that, but Ja'Cory Brown has now committed to come back to Miami. So It looks like they've taken a big, huge whiff in that quarterback gamble that they did. And you hate to see it. You really hate to see it.
Man, they thought getting Rick Ross and some damn dry sirloin tip steak was going to get that man over there. Meanwhile, he had a daggum NFL ball at his workout. That man was gone. He's going to the league. That's freaking funny, man.
Although, I don't know if anybody's heard this. Chris, have you heard this? That Alabama is trying to sneak in? Because Cam has not signed an agent yet.
Ooh, he still left it open. Bama needs one. Bama needs one bad. I mean, they're going to be looking at Liberty's quarterback.
I don't know. I'm not starting rumors. I'm just saying what I heard. But boy, wouldn't that be hilarious? I mean, I'm sorry, and I mean, I'm not like obviously Bama can go kick rocks too. I was so excited to watch them lose last night, but man, if they got in there and got him not to go to the NFL,
I think your biggest threat to Ohio State.
I see. And people said I was crazy about this. I don't know.
I don't see him dumb enough to go to Miami. It's like career suicide. Now all their edge players are leaving. It's freaking hilarious watching the boys melt.
The Brown brothers.
Well,
Anybody seen that?
They were saying Chris Ball is a quarterback killer. So
yes,
it's one of them things where it's like I had to look up on what this myth was, and truth be told, and I don't like to bash any coach because it's not easy, but shit, it's kind of fits up to his name. So
it's bad.
He made a smart decision.
And then the Brown brothers from Miami now, one has hit the portal officially, and now they're worried about the other. I mean,
you sure hate it for their luck.
You do. And I mean, they spent 2 weeks pumping their chest doing all this.
Oh man.
Especially after Florida State lost. Yeah.
I never knew they was like this. Like I said, I'm in a group chat with Armand Richards, he a Miami alum. It's just it's so annoying because he just as worse as the damn fans. And it's like the things he say and anticipating and say what they gonna do and how much he hate us and the delusionalness. It's like they really are the all-season champions.
Every year.
Every year. And I would have never thought the Gators would be beneath them and just shit talking right now, but Miami is bad.
Yeah, they are just completely, I don't even know. Delusional is too light of a word. It's like really they're just hurting really, really bad, and they're just lashing out, man. Some of them are pretty funny. That Timothy Johnson dude, that's got to be a troll. That's got to be like a Trident team situation or something.
I just know. I think the last show, the roll up before the year, and one came on was talking about Jordan Travis' leg, and we just had to kick bro off because it was like, bro, y'all are hurting so bad to bring up that. It's like, bro, my loss is a loss. Just accept it and cheer for your team.
I mean, I was on that show when y'all got him,
Oh.
and I was like, "What did he say?"
They
I
say
was
I
like-
got it. They say I got under his skin, but still, that doesn't give you the right to talk about Jordan Travis' leg. I'm like,
It's crazy, man. This is a little off topic, but I've seen like
Oh my
3
God.
people ask this in the comments, and it's also one that I want to ask before I forget. But
what?
coming off the season, man, is there a particular player on the roster, or who is the one most kind of like you see yourself in? Who is, or and to make it more fun, I guess, going forward, like who is the Kenny Shaw on Florida State's roster for you? Like who's that dude that you really see your
Man.
game in?
Hey, I'm a humble dude. That's a hard question because I'm gonna tell you no one.
Mhm.
Truthfully, because you got to have some balls in that slot, and over the course of the nation and watching receivers, I've seen a few that have gave me like resemblance of what I've done in that area of the field, but the Ja'Kai Douglas shows hints of it here and there. So I just like Chris was saying, we need 2 or 3 to really go to another level. But more importantly, we need a slot guy to emerge because we've been lacking that. We've been lacking that for a minute now, if I'm being honest.
For sure,
I watch that. The bigger guys, that's one thing, but the slot, I really pay attention to it because that's where the real mismatches come from. And I just need a guy to just take it over and just.
Especially when you've got the big guys outside.
Oh,
you just
man.
need that one. And that's why people got so excited about Destin Hill, hoping he could be that dude. But you hit the nail on the head. When you're talking about fearlessness, like going over the middle, not alligator arming those balls. Yeah, we just, I'm not hating on the roster, but we have not had that dude that you could count on to lay, his body out there and make those clutch catches. And when you talk about it and you go look back at the stats, and like Chris was saying, you were one of Jameis' favorite targets, and it's because he always knew he could have you. 4th down or 3rd and long or whatever it was in that first half of that Boston College game when he hits you on the sideline, it's like he never even thought for a second. He knew you were coming down with that thing, and the rest is history. So yeah, I love it, man. I love it.
Can we address this comment on the screen because I can't.
Yeah, what is that? That's what I thought you was gonna ask me. I'm like when you flip the question on what receiver or whatever, all I kept reading was Mario's training bra.
So this is a running gag, man. I don't know if you're a Seinfeld guy, but Seinfeld, George Costanza's father came out with this thing called the man's ear. Pretty much a bra for men. And Jen and I, mostly Jen, I think it was her that talked about it at first. We're trying to do a GoFundMe, do what we can get, workshop it, whatever we can do to get Mario, something for those titties, because they be hanging.
Moves, George. He has
does he
moves.
have
You
little
can say
man
it.
moves? I don't.
Oh yeah.
I'll send you the pictures.
And look, guys, we're not body shamers on this podcast. We love everybody, but I mean, come on, this guy, he's fair game.
It's 2024 now. We've heard words.
I can send all of y'all a video
so screw
where he's
it.
talking and his titties really slapped together, and you can hear it.
But he seems so. His face doesn't match that.
No, but his body.
No.
I guess I haven't paid attention.
Jen, that's why it's weird. Huh?
Jen, you said you was the one that discovered this?
No, I like to make fun of it because it really pisses off Miami fans. So I really love to just stick that in. It really gets them going. Sometimes if I wake up in the morning, I'm like, hey, how are Mario's boobs today? They really get mad and they just get out of control.
Yeah, quarterback killer.
Oh yeah,
the man's ear, the whole needing bra. We like to talk about you have to worry about these kids, like any kid that actually commits there or is seriously, if it comes down to you and them, you gotta look back at the books and think about your decision and who you're recruiting. We don't give them any rest, and they brought it upon themselves. Those guys, they showed up from episode 1. So
that knee that they didn't do really that changed it. Culture of their whole organization. I feel like that one play alone just debacled everything.
And then the reaction to say we say 2 hands on the ball, really? What would you have felt like if you were in that locker room, Kenny? Like, what would you have like? What have y'all been talking about after he said that shit?
Like I was blessed to have Jimbo as my coach. Like I think we lost 6 games in my 4 years, which is, that's a mixture of players and good coaching. So I think that would have been very weird seeing Jimbo just run the ball with that many seconds left on the clock.
I can't believe we saw it last night. I can't believe we saw it last night with Texas and Washington. Like, and all these national people were like, how does a team not know how to knee the ball? So of course, here I go. I went and grabbed that picture of Mario with that Georgia Tech player standing.
Well, we might as well go there. It's time. We're gonna talk about it. The fucking college football playoff is gonna put 2 teams ahead of Florida State. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Alabama got embarrassed by Texas at home. They won their conference championship. They put them in. Who else did they put in over us? Well, that Texas team, because they happened to beat Alabama, even though they got embarrassed by Oklahoma.
My 2024 started off good. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, me too.
I needed both those teams to lose just because. And even looking at the stat lines and just fuck the stat lines. Looking at the course of play of both teams who they put over us, you can't tell me we couldn't compete with them. And the nation gonna say, 63-3 with 25 opt-outs and whatever. But I feel like the people who really watch football and the people who really know football will say that we will probably run the tables just along with our defense. Our defense is, you see what Michigan's doing. They're not doing nothing flashy. They're playing hard-nosed football, but their defense is what's keeping them in these games.
It was our game. That's what kills me. It was literally, that was our game to win. We were more prepared than anybody in the nation. Did y'all see that clip? It was Greg McElroy and some other shitbag that I don't know who he is. It's the one clip everybody was talking about, just made them sick. They're saying he's on there. McElroy's like, oh yeah, this Michigan team, they just do it all. They do the little things. Things happen, but they win. Like, just describing Florida State. But it's like, bring up the stats. Brock had a better statistical game in the ACC championship than they had. Like, oh my gosh, y'all go off on it. I just it gets me emotional. It's just unreal.
I just like that the real always surface. Like, all the Kurt Herbstreit. I just like how much he getting trolled, and even Lee Corso said like, "Oh, Alabama, your favorite." See that? He's like, "Alabama, your favorite," and you just see like little snippets of Michigan players like, we were ready for Florida State. Like, we wasn't even worried about Bama. So it's like
they pushed that whole narrative that Michigan was, scared of Bama when they were just shocked we got fucked. That's all it was. Excuse my language.
All your ESPN, now that you look back on it, it's like one of those things where it's like, we've been seeing the red flags. We just didn't know we was going to get messed over like this in this capacity. But all year, they and y'all can tell me from you guys watching it from the outside in, like, have we always been hated this much? Like, like it's obvious that they have an agenda against us.
Speak on it, Chris.
Kenny,
I'm sorry.
Sorry. I was just going to say, well, in Kenny 2013, you didn't have any adversity. You won games by too many points. So you didn't struggle. So you could not beat Auburn because you hadn't seen anything like that. And, this was going to be a close game and you're just used to running up the points, right? So you could do that. In 2014, that's when they invented game control, because the games were close and because you weren't winning by enough. That was the problem. Chris, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but that's true.
It disappeared for 10 years. Game control disappeared until this year when they needed to spin a narrative to keep Florida State out of this shit. But Spear Addicts, the Renegade Rundown, Kenny Shaw, Jen Knoll, we ain't letting the motherfuckers rest. You gonna let them rest, Chris?
No, I think the biggest thing that people need to understand is I would prefer our athletes to be exactly how Kenny and the 2013 team was. I can't say they never looked at social media, but I can say that Kenny didn't hear the narrative that we were winning too good, and it was that we don't have enough adversity to be a national title contender. It was news to him, as you just seen. He didn't know these people said this shit. The issue is now we're in a new age of NIL, and they have to use social media. I don't guess they have to, but they're going to. So social media, and that's the thing. Even Kirk Herbstreit did it this year. The dude that's got the fucking landway right here in his head, Paul Feinbaum. They added certain they at certain Florida State players saying things they shouldn't be saying, period. But when you at someone on social media and then expect them not to respond, it's funny. I'm glad to see that coach like Corey Fuller and some others jumped in and just said, don't respond to talking heads because they don't know what they're talking about. I hate to sit there and say that Kirk Herbstreit doesn't know what he's talking about, seeing how he played the game. The problem is he didn't play it well. So when you're not dominant in this game, then you're going to talk more out of emotion because you were emotional on the field all the time because you were getting beat out.
Mm-hmm.
It happens to the worst of them. They get beat out, and then they start talking emotional about X, Y, and Z's and X's and O's. And the fact of the matter is the reason you got beat out is because you didn't understand the playbook. You didn't spin the ball well enough. You weren't the guy. And then that creates the commentary. Well, you didn't find your niche playing the game, but you found your niche talking shit about the game. We can all talk shit about the game. We all got that. But do you have the ability to play it between the chalk lines and do better than someone else? And he didn't.
I didn't know that about him. But it makes sense. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Because I just hate it when the dust settled. He was trying to jump on that he was a Florida State fan in a sense and all this bullshit. But it was like he clearly, so whoever pushed his buttons, the first fan that after the playoff thing, he damn near had to go to therapy, I felt.
He's got two emotional support dogs.
Oh yeah.
He had to get another one. Man.
Yep.
Poor Ben.
He won't drop it though. That's the thing. He just keeps on putting more clips out there trying to defend it. I'm not sure what he went on, but just 2 days ago he went on there defending it. But the greatest thing is that shit was on for everybody, and everybody was watching it. The same people that saw FSU versus Louisville in the ACC championship that bought all their line of horse shit, they were tuned in and they watched the same exact game. And there is like FSU's defensive line, the top 4 guys shits on what Alabama has right now. And the same thing, like the quarterback doesn't shit on them, but Brock and Tate would have been just every bit had a chance to be effective the way that, game played out. The dude had 116 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah.
So the world saw, like people say the ball don't lie. And one other thing, I see a lot of people in the chat going back and forth saying, arguing who was Mr. Reliable on that 2013 team. Okay, listen, Rashad Green was he X or Y? I'm not sure. Pretty sure he was X. Number 1 outside wide receiver. Kenny was that dude on the slots we were talking about, that one reliable guy who would go out there and get the ball and put his body on the line. Nobody's going to take that away from him. And he was that dude, just to educate you people in the chat.
No, I think they were saying because Rashad left a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So 2014, I felt bad too for him because that year he was Mr. Reliable. With just like the comeback, I just watching it was just like a movie. You know how a good movie where they always got to end with a bang, and we knew it was gonna come a win, but we just didn't know how. So until we face Oregon, and that's when that
was your first year kind of as a fan too. I mean, you're always a player. You are a Seminole for life. But still, I mean, after just leaving FSU, that had to have been – it gave me heart palpitations every game.
I watched that Oregon game out in Oakland. I was in Oakland at the time, and it was just like, this shit is like – I think that was the start of the trolling of Twitter. And I just remember waking up after the loss and just seeing the little Jameis slip pass and whatnot. I was like, fans really hate us.
Man, it's like that Bane thing on The Dark Knight Rises. People don't realize Florida State, y'all just now got to this troll game. Like we were raised in it. 2013, 2014, 15, those were
They hate
wild
us,
times.
but it's also too looking from the outside in. We have like a cult, if we're being honest.
Oh, dude, it is. It's
Florida
wild.
State has a cult.
How many
Oh, yeah.
TikToks or YouTube shorts or like random, creators do you like go crazy famous and you're watching them and you're like, oh shit, he's wearing a Florida State hat. Oh shit, that's a Florida State fan.
Well,
It really is.
I
So many
still-
closet Florida
I
State
still
fans.
see the damn the commercial, the Geico commercial still show the Florida State shit in the background. Like, what's up with that? I feel like
Right?
they're still trolling us.
The head of Geico, I think, is a Florida State graduate, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's a fan thing. That
Yeah.
that is a true thing. That person, like she said, he's some kind of big wig with that company. But yeah, it does. That Heisman House, that shit drives me nuts. How that shit's been
Yeah.
handled. But
They won't even put Jameis on it. I can't.
yeah, he'll never be on it.
We didn't even go to the White House, so
Still ain't went to the White House. Man,
I
that's
think
just
we're probably the
crazy.
first team. It's something.
You were.
I gotta get somebody to date back to what we did to whomever in the college football world.
Here's what it is.
I think there's one person. Am I allowed to say her name? Am I allowed to say her name?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Erica Kinsman is the reason you weren't invited to the White House.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, they bought into that. We were one of the first ever victims of like quasi cancel culture,
Me too.
with Jameis and the whole, all of that stuff. But one thing I want to point out, because Kenny brought up a good point, we've been talking about it before we move on to transfer portal people and the whole thing. Florida State is a blue blood, but we're like the newest blue blood of all the blue bloods. Like we kind of popped on the scene there in the 80s and 90s and became a power. I think these people just remember 14 years straight of, top 4 finishes and all that shit. They just realize that we're like the Death Star. Like what's going to happen when all this shit, all the negative horseshit they've been coming up with for the past, 10 years, they've been doing this to us. What's going to happen when we're in the Big Ten or the SEC? We're getting the top 3 recruiting class. We got the, you know what I mean? At that point, they're FUCK. Like there ain't nothing, it's over. It's on like a pot of neck bones, as we say around here.
I like to see it.
Nick Scorton. I'm not sure. Like I know we've already talked about it. You don't do a ton of. You're not too deep into the recruiting till they get here. But this Nick Scorton dude is a true freshman, I believe, this year at Purdue. 10 sacks, just an absolute freaking monster. The guy's like, just one of these dudes. Well, like Jermaine Johnson, Jared Verse, just these no doubter pass rushers. He originally had 2 visits, really publicized. It was Louisville and Florida State on the 3rd and the 4th. Well, he canceled the Louisville visit and is now visiting a school closer to his house that is slipping my mind, but it's like right there, a school by his house, and coming to Florida State that following day. But Texas A&M, yeah. So I guess we'll start with you, Chris. What do you think? How are you feeling on Nick Scorton? I think like pretty much the best thing to do would be to like Texas A&M, and he never leaves Florida State without committing, and because I know he's got a couple other visits possibly lined up afterwards.
I think what a lot of people don't understand about Coach Norvell and especially Adam Fuller, it's a little bit different when you come visit Florida State than some of these other schools. Like you don't get to go out and eat whale blubber and dolphin, and that's not what we do. We sit your ass down and hand you a playbook and ask you what you understand out of it, because we're trying to win football games, not get your stomach full. Like we're gonna eat when it's time to eat, but right now we need to know what you understand in this game, and are you a true chess piece or do you just like playing checkers? We need to know. And that's especially how Adam Fuller is. So I don't think our coaches fully invest in any portal guy until they invest in Florida State. You need to know why they're coming. Like it's not – we're doing things different, but it's been working in the portal for sure because it's easier for Florida State to sell itself. And I don't mean the coaching staff sell itself. I mean Florida State sells itself when you come. But everybody realizes when you get here that the coaches are all about how we're going to win games, how they're going to get you to the NFL, how you can benefit your game from being here. And it's a little bit different than what everybody else is doing in the portal. A lot of people like Auburn, they're buying players. They don't care. They don't need to know what you're doing. They watched your film. They think that's enough. The problem is when you get here, it's systematic. We don't necessarily need you to fit this particular system, but we can show you what system we'll build around you for you to be the star that you're supposed to be. It's just, are you going to understand it? So I don't think you get hung up on any of them. You can't, because if you fully invest and put all your eggs in one basket, you're surely going to lose them. So you bring that kid in and you find out how invested is he in wanting to come to Florida State. And that's with all of them. DJU showed you right off the bat from day one, I want to be a Nole. That's what he said. So the investment was there. Unfortunately, there was another kid that was in the mix that you have to do your evaluation. But they set both of them down, and they'll both tell you that their visit at Florida State was the opposite of anywhere else. There was no talks about this steakhouse. There were no talks about how much money you were going to make. It was, what are you going to do to get to the NFL? And this is what we can do to get you there. And that's, I think that's the best sales pitch that there is, because it's truth. And that's what matters.
Zero sugarcoating. How was Jimbo on like that? Was his recruiting pitch more sweet and honey, or was it more just because I feel like Jimbo might have been, pretty similar in that particular aspect.
I mean, his real name is Jimbo, so
right.
You're not gonna get no sugarcoating from a guy from the country who, you know what I mean. He just wants to see the best in you. But truth be told, what made me a silent commit my junior year, even though I was still like weighing out my options, just because Mama Shaw told me to, was Lawrence Dawsey, my receiver coach. And as I develop receivers in the academy and pushing forward to the college and pros, I tell them, like, you got to be in communication with your position coach more than anything. Like, head coach got so much gig, so much things to do. But it feels good when he does show face, if that makes a difference. So Jimbo came to the high school with, mind you, he's my first. He was the first class in my first class. So just seeing him and all the coaches at the time, it was 10 of them come to my high school, was just like, oh, I'm really going here. You know what I mean? Like, some of these guys, Randy, Trickett, all these guys coming straight from the airport with their luggage at the high school. I'm like, this is real luck. And, I've always had a third eye when it comes to who's genuine and what's bullshit. And they always came out genuine, give me straight cut. Oh, Kenny, if you come in, you'll be 6 on the depth chart. That's what I need to hear. And not many kids can take that nowadays. And that's why we see so much. I've heard a crazy ass number that it was like 400,000 people in the transfer portal. And like I say, like a lot of these kids all run away from competing. So when it came down to the pitch, it was really Lawrence Dawsey, who was a father away from home.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, how you get a Keon Coleman. You take these Johnny Wilsons. Like, how awesome would it have been, basically, the way Mike Norvell being a former wide receiver and that being his specialty? It kind of would have been like having Lawrence Dawsey as your head coach. How big is that? Like, of an offer opportunity, like when it comes to these portal guys like we're talking about, that's got to be a big selling point for a Evan Stewart or a Silas or some of these guys that are looking at Florida State.
Hey, that would be big, honestly. But like I said, it's still they got to compete, and like
you're not gonna sugarcoat it.
Like you say, the DJU, it sounds like he came in with less of the how much am I gonna make, and he came with the mindset of how can I contribute to and get to this championship, which what we need more of.
No doubt. Absolutely. While we're on track of it, you brought up the academy. Let's go ahead and get an ad off for you. Let's let the people know exactly how they can get to the Kenny Shaw's Raw, experience. Let them know what you got going on, any camps you got coming up, all that good stuff.
Well, the website is shawsraw.com. We're the middleman to push a kid in life, in football, and then just new endeavors, because we all in this world sitting on this podcast right now done been through some life situations where we don't know where our next door gonna open. So we the middleman just pushing the kid. So we do that through camps where we bring back probably over 40 NFL players, a lot of my brothers in my tenure of football, Dak Prescott, some NFL players, and now it's starting to be like NBA and UFC fighters coming back, giving back to the camps. We do mental health camps, which is outside of football, which is honestly my favorite because these are the kids who, they get overlooked just because they're not playing football, and it's through the DJJ juvenile systems and DCF and foster kids. So I like that even more because some of them kids' story is, it make you realize like you're not tough at all. Like some of these kids are very resilient. So we do that, and I just picked up a golf sponsorship just to get more kids into golf. So
let's go.
That's my new hobby now. So I'm excited about that. So
well, go ahead and plug them, man. Let the people know. You're more than welcome. Who'd you pick up?
First Tee organization. Yeah. And we just, like I say, I grew up only knowing NFL and NBA. So I just want more kids to realize that, golf not half bad, and this is coming from football is my first love, so if I'm telling you this, just experience it early, and it builds a lot of things, just communicating, builds social skills, builds a lot, it's peaceful, I will say. So we just tackling a lot of things. We got scholarships, tackling education, and it's just all over the board. It's just a lot of mentorship.
Yeah, man, that hits home for me. I don't know if I've talked about it a lot online, but I'm an open book, man. I didn't, I'm lucky to have my dad be a part of my life now, but when I was younger, like I didn't have much male role models along the lines, so that's just absolutely awesome what you're doing for these kids. And I just absolutely love it. So happy we could have you on here to talk about it. And for sure, you guys, if you haven't checked out shawsraw.com or visited Kenny on any of his social medias and always stay up with that stuff, if you've got an opportunity to make it out to one of these camps, be able to participate or in any of this stuff, go do it. You will not regret it. And
I'm just excited because the Raw, it's one of them things, like I say, when it came down to hanging up the cleats, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do, but I knew that I like giving back only because I went back to school in 2019 to finish up. I had like 12 hours left, and that was James Blackman class, Pokey, all those guys, and I was still in the league, so I was like, man, let me just get them together, and we all train together. And I just saw how they was taking in some advice, and I was like, man, I kind of like this. Like, this is a good feeling. I was in their shoes. I can give back, and even off the field shit. You know what I mean? They not alone. So I enjoy that, but I didn't know it would turn into this. So the Raw part, I know it was a joke. I woke up sophomore year, and the whole YouTube and all this shit was going.
Who made that first highlight? Kenny Shaw is Raw. That just stuck.
That guy went to high school with me. People don't know that, Scooter Magruder.
Okay.
So
I love that.
I turned that into just Raw.
Was he that's who started it? Was Scooter Magruder?
Because my freshman year,
learn something new every day.
My freshman year in high school, we used to go to a Camp Blandon. It's a military base, yeah. And he started that shit my freshman year. I was one of 3 freshmen getting invited to the varsity camp, and he made that beat after dinner one night. And years later, 2011, get on YouTube, and I wake up and Twitter is like adding me and all this raw shit. And I got into adulthood, and I said, man, let me change this to an acronym. So RAW is Resilient Athletes Worldwide. So
Resilient Athletes Worldwide. Look, man, you got a knack for it. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, like I said, you didn't know me from Adam, just met me for 5 minutes, and you gave me a 30-minute pep talk about the Renegade report and everything I was doing. And I ain't bullshitting you. You're a big part of me having the confidence and getting to where I'm at. So, man, y'all get out, shawsraw.com. You guys get out there and be a part of it. You will not regret it, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we're like I said, I'm just excited to approach different cities because it started in Orlando. Now we got a camp in Panama City at the Florida State campus. we're in Bruton, Alabama. We're in Tampa this year. So, all over the world, we need that. Like you just said about the male role model, and not Jen, I know you're a woman, but more men, we need more positive male role models and mentors. Kind of, we got too much yes men nowadays.
Lord have mercy. Yes.
Even in the locker rooms.
Yep. Yeah, we need people with a backbone that, like Booger McFarlane, that's willing to get up there and say the right thing. Not these yes men and people that are just going to tell you what you want to hear
they
and
hate
blow
that
any
guy.
way the wind blows.
I
Oh
like
yeah, we
that
love
guy.
you till the boss doesn't like you. Then all of a sudden we don't like you anymore. But yeah, absolutely, man, I love it. What do y'all want to talk about next, guys?
I'd
I
like to
know.
talk about what Kenny said just a second ago.
What was that?
I'm gonna try to phrase it to what I think I heard, but he said that it was something to the nature of not knowing where the next door was going to open.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that he said that because at the spring game there was a young man that was asking me where Kenny had his camps at, and I said, "Well, he's standing right over there. You can go ask him." I said, "He'll talk to you. He ain't gonna bite you or nothing." And I don't know if he went over there and actually asked the question. I know he went over there, but when he came back to me, I told him, I said, the types of things that I think that Kenny is doing with his camps and stuff is preparing you for the potential cracks in life. And this young man's old enough to understand what I'm saying, but I was trying to explain to him that when you get old enough, you'll realize that you don't know where your next opening is going to be. But what's important is not where the opening is going to be. It's being prepared to bust through it. And I said, those types of camps, that's what it does.
Yeah.
So he's preparing you to bust through your next opportunity. And I hope that young man, I haven't got to speak to him in a while, but I hope that he got to show up last year at any camp because he's got the passion. He doesn't have the support system that he needs as far as parents go. So he works on a farm on top of everything else. He's got to make money to help his family, but the kid's got true talent. It's just you got to crisp it up. He needs to get behind somebody that actually understands what he's trying to do.
Yeah, if you got his socials, shoot me his socials or whatnot. Yeah, because it's little simple things that we all have a something that happens to us in life, whether it be early, later, whenever, and it's those little things that you figure out that is what the world is. I think the world is building relationships. So it's a lot of people don't know how to do that because they don't know the simplicity of life is, just be nice to people. I know you're gonna have bad days, the road rage days, or the world is against you and you just an asshole. But I feel like if you nice, it'll pay a difference.
The golden rule, like I wish like you could solve 99.999% of everything if you just use the golden rule. Man, it's crazy. And yeah, you being there, sometimes you just need to hear it from somebody else. Even some people, their dad may be in their life. They may have the perfect situation, but are dead set on doing something that's bad for them. It's going to be a mistake. But sometimes you just don't want to listen to mom and dad. Hearing it from Kenny Shaw might nudge you in the right direction, especially if you're worth your salt and your stuff.
Hey,
some Canes kids may be just too far, too far gone.
I've heard that from a lot of parents. So as a new parent, I might be in that predicament myself, but I'm loving that even more. Like you kind of mentioned, with the lack of a father, it's not an easy route coming out of that. You know what I mean? It's almost, the statistics shows you're supposed to be dead in jail or just doing something very insubordinate. So I think a lot of people just need to give themselves flowers at the end of the day with the little things, what you overcame, whether it be, my parents didn't even look at my report card and I'm valedictorian. You know what I mean? Just something little. It's the little things for sure.
No doubt.
And that's the hardest part about depression and when it came down to hanging up the cleats. Like I didn't talk about how much little things I overcame. I was trying to control time and where I was supposed to be mentally and physically, and it wasn't working with me. And those little things I wasn't even talking about. I wasn't writing it down. I tell kids nowadays, read a damn book. Everything's so damn digital now. Like, just read a book.
Yeah, everything is gone, crazy. I mean, even with the NIL and all this stuff, it's just kind of the things that are highlighted and, center their attention 24/7. Sometimes you need somebody to help come put things in perspective, and somebody that's done exactly what it is that you want to do and you aspire to do is a damn good start. So we definitely appreciate it. And everybody will not leave me alone about this damn Big Ten stuff, guys. Jen loves talking about it.
Is that where we heading?
Man, you tell me, man. Here on the channel, we've been all Big Ten from Jump Street. Chris and James, for like a year and a half, 2 years, they've been all Big Ten. Here's the deal. There's rumblings. There's some rumblings. We said for, I don't know, when did we say it, Jen? About 2 or 3 weeks ago that February is when we expect Florida State to make the announcement, have a settlement, whatever the case may be, all that it entails to get there. You're going to get an announcement from Florida State University saying, we're headed to the Big Ten. That's what you're going to get. That's what we've predicted, guys. Okay. But that was a prediction we made a while ago. Since then, he's asking about the suit. Yes, Florida State filed suit against the ACC to try to eliminate this grant of rights, all the crazy stuff that happened. But the day before, on Thursday, the ACC filed a suit ahead of time, thinking they could preemptively strike because Florida State has to give notice anytime they have a bot meeting. So all that went down. It's going on now. Okay. So that's where we're at. Okay. But at this point, the timetables, anybody that can give you, say they have an outright prediction, they're lying, because it's just, you never know. You don't know if they're going to settle. You don't know if they're going to make it to the first, part of discovery and like really get pushed to the limit before they settle. We don't know exactly. Okay. But the word on the street is that shit's already happening. The word on the street is other conferences, now that this shit is getting serious, they're realizing all of a sudden that, okay, Florida State has just cause. We just had this nightmare of a situation where both the teams that got put in over FSU, they lost. It's like Florida State stock, as much as they try to do it, it's sky high. Everybody knows that you're talking about, I don't know the exact worth of what Florida State is, but you're talking about hundreds of millions, one of the top 5-10 programs in the nation, disappearing, going one way or the next. But it's kind of tight. Any information that any of us might have, we're not going to be able to we're not going to break news right here and tell you anything like that. I know for a fact Chris has information he's not allowed to speak about. Jen is like, as far as following this stuff from an outsider's perspective, watching every podcast, reading every article, studying up on the way these laws work and speaking to actual lawyers, people around the program and stuff, getting stuff that, she can speak on it pretty well. So I know you've been excited to talk about it. How are you feeling right now as far as the timetable and what we got with the Big Ten? And, if you've got anything for Kenny you want to ask about it, fire away.
Yeah. So I do think February is the time. And if I'm wrong, Chris, if you want to jump in and just go wave at me and say anything, you're welcome to do it. So I have heard though that there is another conference that is now jumped in. That interest went from about 0 to 100. After the playoff game, I think if anybody wants to put 2 and 2 together, you can think about what conference that is. And all right, but I think that Florida State was always working towards the Big Ten. I don't think that the other conference coming in is anything that changes that. As of right now, things could change, tomorrow, they could change next week, but I don't think so. I think that ball has been rolling for about a year. And let me think. What was the other thing I was going to add in for that? I also think that the ACC was trying to start, I don't know, maybe some tampering accusations against the Big Ten. Because Florida State didn't exactly want to sit down and talk settlement. They wanted it to go to the full judgment, all or nothing, right? That's just something I got. I don't know if that, as Chris is shaking his head. So, but now with the tampering, I think Florida State and the ACC are starting some negotiations. I think that settlement is going to be done. I don't think that the ACC wants that grant of rights to be challenged because that leaves the window open for other schools to do the same. So I think they're going to try and keep that as far away from it as they want. But I also heard that maybe that other conference getting involved was to get Florida State to the table. Just saying.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. It's to a point now where like the shit's hitting the fan. They see the dollars going left or right. But did Kenny or Chris, I don't know if y'all have any comments or
I haven't been following that much, but I only seen that amount. Was that a real amount? The 572?
Yeah, so the deal is the actual like just regular buyout clause is around $120 million. But also there's a 13-year and it's somewhere around 400 million where it adds up total to where it would end up costing Florida State, yes, over $500 million. But that's what the suit is centered around, that number.
Yes.
And the fact that it's illegal, it was all done absolutely ridiculous. They pretty much, the biggest point in the whole case, not to go down the whole thing, was in 2016, the ACC basically came and said, oh, well, ESPN held a gun to our head. You guys got to sign this shit now, and extend it all the way to 2,339, or that's it. You don't get paid. Y'all are going to have 9 years, all this bullshit. So that's a big thing. But me and Jen and Chris, I'm not sure. I think he's about the same thing. We've kind of guessed that it would be around that initial that initial $120 million is what Florida State's going to try to get it settled to. Obviously, thrown out zero would be the best possible thing. But if I had to guess, that would be it.
My guess is Florida State settles for $54 million.
All right, folks, you heard it here first. Chris Frazier predicts $54 million. That is a heck of a number.
Where the pressure came from back in 2016 when you allowed whatever year Maryland decided to get out, they paid a very similar fee because of the contingents of that Maryland was going to challenge it before signing it. They were going to challenge the representation. They were going to challenge the orthodox of it. They were going to do a lot of things. So they just said, look, here's the number, pay it, you can get out. And that's what they did. If anybody thinks that Florida State in this lawsuit, because basically what's happened when the ACC tried to predict that Florida State was going to sue them, you can't base a lawsuit off of a prediction. You have to wait until someone actually does something to you before you can counter it. So basically you put a counter file out before you were even anything was done. You can know what's coming. You can think you know what's coming, but until it's done, you can't pull the trigger and say, here's this. It's simplified because it's going to be in the state of Florida, which they hate. That's what they tried to do their lawsuit first for, because we have a sunshine law. And that means everything that's brought to the table, Florida State has to share. And it has to be public record. Well, the ACC doesn't want that. Neither does ESPN, and neither does any of the big talking heads, because there's a lot of egregious shit that goes back and forth between the conversations of these conferences and so on. ESPN has talked shit about the ACC network. They've talked shit about the ACC for a multitude of years. That's why they don't have a buyout in the clause of they can stop in 2025, 2026. They say 2027, but it's really 2025 or 2026. ESPN can say, we're not covering the ACC anymore. We're not paying for the coverage of this conference. And there's no penalty to them. So that becomes a one-sided contract. And in the midst of who you did it with in all of these universities, that's already a breach of contract within the contract. So you can't just say these things and it be okay for one side but not the other. That means it's a one-sided contract. There's laws against that in the state of Florida. There's laws against that in North Carolina. There's laws against that in multiple states. Unfortunately, if you're a school in Boston, you're screwed. If you're Wake Forest because you're a private institute and you signed it, then you're screwed. But us being a public university, it allows us to follow the guidelines and laws that they're of the land that are in the state of Florida. So we have a lot of protection just based off of being in the state of Florida. The ACC is pissed because they didn't anticipate that anyone would ever challenge this. But we've got a multitude of people that are in here that realize that if you're $30 million behind every year for the next 10 years to 13 years, you're talking about $330 to $460 million in that span. If you're that far behind, it's going to be hard to compete, whether it's recruiting, whether it's facilities, no matter what the case may be. And Florida State's already playing catch up. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, because we don't have facilities. No, we've been playing catch up because our university hasn't been a co-ed university as long as everyone else. We haven't played these sports as long as everyone else. You're talking about Michigan, Alabama, Tennessee, all of them been here 130 some odd years. Florida State's not there yet. So when we get pushed back against the corner and we do more with less, which is what this university has done in its history, they do more with less. That's where the unconquered, all this comes from. It's not cliches. It's not to be catchy. It's not to get the money. It's the true spirit of what this university took on when the Seminole tribe of Florida said, yes, y'all can call yourselves the Seminoles, because they're still to this day the only tribe that never signed a treaty with the United States. They still have their own land. They still are a sole entity of what they are. Well, Florida State is literally taking that to merit, and they're using it against the ACC and whoever else wants to challenge it, because we have true merit behind why we're upset. So Florida State will get out. It's just now, all these universities that said we were being loud and we need to shut up and just do our thing until it's ended. Now a bunch of them are trying to jump on our coattail. I don't care if they do or not, but the Big Ten is where Florida State's going to go. I don't care who else jumps to the table. I think this shit's been done for a long time in conversation. It's just the fact of now we got to get it. We got to be able to put it on paper. Ink to paper needs to happen. All the conversations are great, but let's go ahead and finish the process so that we can get to the conference that not only respects itself, but respects the hell out of us, because the one that we're in doesn't respect itself, so it damn sure doesn't respect us.
Hell yeah. We're going to keep going with this conversation, but before we open the lines to the questions and everything, all the fun stuff from the second hour of the show, I just wanted to, Chris painted something here. What he just told you guys in that was the reason that we can't wait and we have to go. There is no waiting. He talked about it. That thing jumps to 30, 40, 50 million. And I thought of a good way to lay it out there for fans and even the trolls in the comments that have a hard time understanding shit. We are not paying some crazy absorbent fee to get out of the ACC, even if it's 500 million. Because here's the thing. All you're doing is going and taking a loan to pay the bill off all at once. Because even if you stay in the ACC, you're just losing that 40 or 50 million dollars a year. So would you rather, finance your home and buy it, or would you rather just rent it for 10 years and at the end of the 10 years, your money goes right down the effing drain? That's what's going on. That's why the Florida State has to get out. But we made it to an hour and 10 minutes. So I'm going to throw the number up on the screen for you guys to get your calls and your texts and your questions in for the thing. But I'm sorry. Can you go ahead?
Now, I feel like we've been good tenants. It's just shitty.
Facts.
Because, you see the views and whatnot with our games, and we're top of the nation when it comes to just viewership. So it's like, it's we have this narrative on us that we are like the boogeyman people. So now that you put it in those terms, I'm happy that we're leaving, and because and it doesn't help. And I was talking about this on one show. I was like, it doesn't help that we have a lot of backing in the ACC with us. We were saying that Miami doesn't pay no rent. Clemson is probably our best bet too, with who just helping out with keeping the ACC afloat, and Duke kind of helped out this year. But besides that, it's been like, I feel like we've been holding it down for a minute now.
And it's not even that they're not good. They don't invest the money into. They don't need $100 million a year in football. Sorry, Jen. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Kenny, are you saying it's not been the All Canes conference? I'm concerned.
No,
because I was told that that's what it was going to be. I'm okay. I was just checking. That's all.
even if we leave, they still won't be on top of the ACC.
No,
Let's put it like that.
no. SMU's gonna beat
ACC
'em.
ain't cashing checks. That's
Yeah.
what that shit stands for.
I got
Ain't
two other
cashing
teams
checks.
above them, so
All right, guys. So the phone lines are open. If you have a question for me, Jen, Chris, our guy, Kenny Shaw. Kenny Shaw is raw. Now's your time. Speak now or forever hold your peace. And just to let everybody know, I haven't mentioned it today, Florida State podcast, fastest growing one around. We have memberships. The Renegade Rundown now has memberships. So if you want to be one of those guys, they call them greenies on Spear Addicts and these other shows. Ours are actually blue, I think, right now. But if you want to be a member, jump on. We do cash giveaways all the time. Who knows? I might do one at the end of this show. But yeah, we do all kind of fun stuff. So if you want to be a part of that family and be in for those fun cash and memorabilia things, subscribe, become a member, do all the good stuff. We appreciate all the super chats, all the love. Like, you guys have no idea. I'm on the verge of possibly being able to do this absolutely full time. So it's like, it's been a blessed journey, and we get to do amazing stuff like have Kenny Shaw on here. So get your questions in. If you have any questions, if you have any takes, whatever love you want to throw out, now's your time.
All right. So, Chris, do you have anything you want to add on any like portal visits or anything that you want to, in case we don't get a phone call, just fill some time? Or I know you're really on top of that stuff.
Yeah, I think that Florida State has a huge opportunity at landing an offensive tackle that's out of the portal. Also, there's a defensive end and a defensive tackle that both just recently entered. Both of them are technically, all three of the ones that I'm talking about have already said that Florida State's their first interest, which is a good thing. But there's a particular wide receiver that just entered the portal right after DJU that is going to be it'll be a big get for Florida State. I'm going to go ahead and predict that I think he comes. I don't think there's a question. It's not about money. It's nothing like that. It's about playing his last year. Well, I don't know if it's his last year, but being with DJ in his last year and being able to perform at the level of what Florida State's been able to do in this past two seasons. It seems like we went 13-0, so yes, it outdone the 10-3 season, but winning 10 games is hard enough to do. So
He might can be that guy we talked about at the beginning of the show.
yeah, Kenny, if you go check out number 7, I forget his name off the top of my head, but he played for what is the name? Oregon
Silas,
State?
I think.
Yeah.
He's a shorter. I think he's a
Silas
slot guy.
Bolden, actually, I think.
Yeah, Bolden. That's right. But you can go check out his stuff. He's a good punt returner as well, but I really like him in the slot.
That's a potential.
Yeah. He's pretty crisp in his route running. I like his sideline. The back shoulder is really something he does well. He also he's just shifty, the regardless of how fast you can get going 20-something miles an hour or not, it's the guys that are a little bit smaller that get in between places. I mean, Edelman, Armella, Kenny. I'm not saying Kenny's small. He's smaller than Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. He's not a giant, but he'll get the job done.
Those guys
mentally.
Yeah.
We got our first caller here, man. You're live on the Renegade Rundown. Come correct. You got your man Kenny Shaw on the line.
Yeah, guys. Yeah. So my name is Nick. Kenny, you have been making me laugh my tail off all season, especially since this undefeated season, trolling the roll-up crew. So I have just like the most cliche fan question. Looking back on your career, and with the perspective, you've also had an undefeated season. What is it like coming out, playing at Doak, wearing those colors, all the fans going crazy? Do you guys like take in the the fans going nuts part of it, or are you just like really zoned in on the game?
All right, brother. We appreciate it. We're gonna hang up and let him answer for you.
We take in all of that. I just remember freshman year just seeing the horse running, planting the spear in the middle of the field. It was just like instant goosebumps. It's like, damn, this shit is real now. You know, you can almost, I guess, feel like you got it kind of, you know how the frats they do they little I don't know what you call it when they stamp you into the fraternity. But just seeing that first game, seeing the horse come in, the fans, and just the whole environment, it felt like I got stamped in. It was no-blooded instantly. So, we look at all that. And, you know, I'm going to fast forward to the 2013 year where we was sitting at halftime, and that we really was looking at a lot of shit and fans and how much craziness goes in the stands. And just I don't think we have better fan base in the nation, and I'm not even being biased. Florida State fans have always been loyal. They travel well. I don't have, you know, you have your negative ones, but just from a player's perspective, you guys always, you know, are genuine human beings, and you know, I appreciate that about you guys. So hell yeah, we took in everything when it comes to the environment, you guys, everything.
Yeah, man. Look, if FSU rides with you, they ride with you. And man, I'll tell you what, I could not imagine. I guess you get used to it a while, but yeah, that first time, that's got to be just absolutely electric to see the whole thing go down. We got a question here. I hate to address it, but it is what it is. The guy says he's a booster ticket season holder. The guy's named Gary, so I'm going to read this shit out. Hey, can y'all explain why FSU had so many opt-outs? We lost 25 players who still had something to prove, and they cut bait, left their teammates in Norvell hanging. That left a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm going to do a little 30 seconds on this. I know Chris and Kenny both going to have something to say about this. Look, Gary, I get it. I'm not just guessing by you being a booster and everything. You're an older gentleman, maybe middle-aged or whatever. It's a different world than it was 10, 20 years ago. It's a different world than even when I grew up. Certainly, probably when you grew up. Who knows? Maybe you're younger than me. But it's just in this day and age, in general, period, this thing has went back to being a pure exhibition. For 30 years there, before you had the playoff, bowl games really mattered, especially one of this magnitude, a Florida State and a Georgia, 2 top 10 teams. You could have ended up crowning a national championship from that. That went away, okay? It's pure exhibition since the playoff started. But not only that, there's been 10 years that they've had this playoff where the first ever Power 5 team left out. These kids won. They did everything absolutely right. And not only that, you've got a bunch of guys who are all needing surgery. They are all playing hurt, absolutely manning up for their brother, being their brother's keeper, all that good stuff. Now, they got screwed. It was just an absolute universal screw job. So, you know, you just cannot blame these kids for opting out after getting absolutely screwed, putting it out all on the line. You don't understand. People don't understand how hard it is to go undefeated in college football. It's a different thing. They could have lost a game. A couple people could have set out in one of those games, and you could have lost one in the middle of the season. It would have been different. To keep everybody together, for people to sacrifice certain guys like a Maurice Smith playing every GD game of the year, even though he's in just miserable pain out there because his team needed him. Like, you guys, this is on you. It's on you, Gary. It's not on the team. That's just my opinion. I hate it. I would have loved to seen everybody play, and if it had been a playoff, they probably would. But this is a situation that's once in a lifetime. It'll never happen again. There won't be a chance for it to happen again. I'm fine with them quitting. I wanted to support the people that showed up, the guys that wanted to play. I was there to support them, but the guys who didn't want to risk it, I was there to support them 100%, and they had every right and every reason, to make a statement. And at the end of the day, Florida State did make a statement, and they hurt ESPN and the whole narrative of this thing after what happened last night. It couldn't have played out any more perfectly for the whatever you want to call it, half protest or moving on and sending your B team out there. So Gary, that's what I got. And anybody else, y'all, the floor is open if y'all want to speak on it, or if you want to move on, we can.
Kenny, you want to say anything, or you want me to go?
You can go.
All right.
It's a touchy subject.
It is, but I'm going to try to simplify this the best that I can.
Yeah.
Why are we mad at a bunch of 19 and 20-year-old young men that responded to the creation of what this is? We created this narrative about bowl games not meaning anything. We created the narrative that winning 13 games doesn't mean anything. We created the narrative that working your ass off for multiple years, everybody looks at the 1 year that they won 13 games, but what about the year before that? And you're in a situation with these guys. That's how I see it. Like you're talking about Jared Verse, you're talking about Keon Coleman, you're talking about Johnny Wilson, and so on. Trey Benson. Now, if they would have set out last year in the bowl game that we played, I would have said we got a problem. There's something wrong. But based on the merit that they were going to return because they wanted to run it back and they wanted to go for it all, which is the national championship. And they come in and they win 13 games in a row. They did everything that they were asked to do. And then 13 asshats that don't play the game. 13 people that have opinions, just like assholes. Everybody's got them and they all stink. But the truth of the matter of what this is 13 people that did not work their asses off. 13 people that don't know what it takes to win 13 games. 13 people that don't know what integrity is. 13 people that don't know what it is to sacrifice for your brother that's right beside you. Those types of people are who told you weren't good enough. So now these guys that are going into the NFL are now supposed to say, well, you know what? Even though they say we're not good enough, even though they said we don't deserve to be in the college football invitational, even though they say that our 13 games and the 3 games that we won without Jordan Travis, supposedly that was the reason, right? Jordan Travis is the reason we didn't make it. Well, then we have 20 some odd guys opt out because they were screwed, snubbed, fucked, whatever you want to call it. The truth is the truth. And you're asking those kids to turn around and sacrifice one more time to prove something they've already proven. I'm not going to reprove myself. I don't know if you've ever taken a test and got 100 on it and someone asked you to retake it because they questioned if you cheated or not. They didn't even ask if they they didn't even ask if they cheated. They only said that you're not good enough. Even though you have scored 100 on your test, we're just saying you're not good enough. Okay, so what are we exactly asking of these young men? To just bite the bullet one more time? I get that that everybody's looking at the pride for Florida State. I understand that. But where was the pride from everyone else when this team got screwed? They felt alone in the situation. So these guys are moving on to the NFL. It's not about risking injury. Everybody's like, oh, they're scared to get hurt. They don't want to compete because they're going to – no. It's the fact that they did everything that they were asked to do. They scored the 100 on the test, and they got told that their test didn't mean shit. And I don't know if anybody knows what it feels like to be snubbed in that manner. And your life goals were to be a national title contender, which in every merit you were, based off of all statistics and metrics and tangible evidence. And then you got told you're not this, you're not that, by people who've never done it. That's my biggest issue with the talking heads or the people that control the narrative. The ones that control the narrative have never sacrificed what these young men sacrificed. That's why when the gentleman, like the gentleman that's below me right now on the screen, when they say something, I don't know if y'all ever get around elderly that have lived life for a long time and they start talking, shut your mouth, open your ears, and you'll learn a lot. And I think that when these players got snubbed and they listened all year long, that this is what you got to do. Work this hard, do this, sacrifice this, work through the pain, play through the pain. No matter what happens, get good grades so your GPA's up. They did all of those things, and they were still told they're worthless.
Yeah.
And blame the kid for getting hurt.
Yeah.
Sickening.
It's a touchy subject more so because, before the season even kicked off, I dedicated this year as my 10-year reunion, which we had our game this year. So I made it a thing in my schedule to 10 more games than I usually can over the years, So just going to the games and, speaking. I spoke to the team at least 2 or 3 times before the games this year. Not many people know that because it's a closed off thing, but before the LSU game, I was nervous going into it until I spoke to the team in the hotel, and I felt way better that the ass whooping was coming, and they showed up. So it's one of them things where and I get it, as fans, we don't, once we attach ourselves to something we love, it's hard to kind of understand like what's going on really behind closed doors, because like you said, we got snubbed by our season came down to a committee, which by any means is not right when it comes to sports. And even the dawn of time, once you win, you in the championship. That's what we taught. And just seeing how much sacrifices they made just to get to this point. Norvell did a great job getting the past alumni back, talking to the players, which I think did great numbers into their season and being resilient. And this team has done things, like I said, that it did show flashes of our 13 year. Like I said, I would talk shit on the other podcasts and tell them, because they say we barely won, but I say, you guys haven't played in that stadium, a Death Valley. You guys haven't played in a swamp. It doesn't matter what the score is. A win is hard as shit to come across in these stadiums. And we're doing it with backups. So the fact of the matter is I think we should get even more credibility when it comes to getting pushed into this playoff. And, we undefeated. So, like you say, and then you want to go with numbers and whatnot. Our defense, they only allowed like one team with 30 points.
But those numbers don't matter, Kenny.
That's crazy. But defense win championships, and what we showed in that ACC game and how explosive Louisville offense has been in the
Bama wasn't scoring, period. They would not score on us.
That shit had me hot. And, when I woke up, I had a sour feeling. I knew trolls was coming. It was one of them things where, I can't tell the world. I was mad as shit. I knew I can be on the golf course and somebody will see me and just fucking talk about the playoffs. And it was just like, each time it was like, just leave me the fuck alone. Like, but then as it got closer and closer to, like I said, the dust settling, that's when more and more people was like, this is messed up.
Yeah.
This is not right. And this, I feel like at the end of the day, it was a good publicity for Florida State. Like, it put us on the map even more, to the point where it's like, y'all doing some dirty shit.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all got to fix this, because we can't see that again. And the teams that y'all let in, both losing, it is like a get back in a sense. So, like I said, going into 24, I feel good. My wish came true. Even though my team didn't make it to the playoffs, look, both teams lost. And we're seeing some new teams winning. So
the ball don't lie. You said it, man. We were the forefront of the nation. Everybody was talking about it, and people saw the truth in that Bama-Michigan game. But we got another game call in. The lines are absolutely blowing up right now. Go ahead, you're live.
Hey, how you doing? First of all, I want to say you guys are doing a great job. Mr. Kenny Shaw, man, I really appreciate what you're doing for the kids. It's very exciting to see somebody out there continue to, even though your career is over with, but you continue to lead by example. First of all, I want to say I've been a Noles fan for first name Christopher, last name Hay, and I've been a Noles fan since I want to say 87, 88. You know what I mean? I've been a high school coach down in Broward County, and I just want to say this, man, to all the fans out there. And to everybody on this platform, man, I'm getting ready to return back to coaching. I took 2 years off, decided to go to graduate school. But I'm coming back, and I'm letting you know right now, man, as soon as I get back to where the good Lord put me, I'm going to load Florida State up, all this Dade County and Broward County talent. I'm going to go to all my coaches, all my friends, and I'm going to load y'all up. Trust me on that one.
Bet. We sure appreciate it, Coach. Man, you got a question for Kenny or anybody while we got you on?
Hey, man, all I want to say, no question. Hey, look, Kenny, you did it all, brother. You set the tone. Hey, I had the opportunity to see you play, man, and watch you do your thing, man. You already answered all my questions, my brother. Just continue doing what you do, all you guys on the platform. And I just want to say, God bless you guys, man. Happy New Year. And Kenny, congratulations on your baby too as well, man. You guys take care and be safe.
Thank
Heck
you, man.
yeah, man.
Appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, I don't want to jinx it, but yeah, we talked about it before the show. We get a pretty good mix, but man, we got some real diehard Noles on here again. And guys, you got to understand, if you're calling while somebody else is on the line, you just got to keep calling if you want to get through, because that's how it rolls here. It's just whoever gets through when it's open. But also, like I said earlier, guys, you can join and be a member if you like. We do cash giveaways from time to time. We're going to be doing another one this Friday. Become a member. You'll be part of all that stuff. And we got all kind of fun stuff, we got going on with the bat line. So just subscribe, get your membership, all that good stuff. Make sure you go over to, it's shawisraw.com, correct?
Mm-hmm. And
shawisraw.com.
Shaw81 on all platforms. It's been like that
platforms.
Since 18 years old.
All righty, you're live with the Renegade Rundown. You got a question for the panel?
Yeah, I sure do, man. Hey, I'm an OG Nole, man, from way back, man. I remember the Bobby Bowden show with Gene, the greatest announcer, too, man, and Burt Reynolds, all that fun stuff. But I've never heard them talk about culture. And I hear everywhere I go, it's culture, 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 culture. So, I mean, like, and then also if Kenny has a good memory of Gene, I'm sure it did, because I used to call into that Jimbo Fisher Collins show quite a bit, and I never heard them say culture either. So, if you can elaborate on that, and y'all have a good night.
Heck yeah, appreciate it, man. I will definitely let either Kenny or Chris or one of y'all, Jen, anybody talk about that. What's up with this culture word? What does it really mean?
Jen, go first. She got that face.
I think it's a
when Jen's ready to speak, she'll let you know.
Yeah.
my face always gives me away. So I think it's a word to just hate on Florida State. This is just a word that they're using right now to be like, look at this program. They are whiny. The coaching is bad. The leadership is bad, because had the coaches been able to talk these guys into playing, we could have made more money in this bowl game and it would have been better, right? I mean, that's all it's about. This isn't about the fact that they don't understand what they did, just ruin college football. I mean, the purpose of sports. They don't care about that. It doesn't matter. They wanted Florida State to show up in their, uniform and Renegade and Osceola come out there and it be really a good game back and forth. And they just wanted to take it up the ass and be happy about it. And no, they didn't do it.
Not
by the
up
way,
the ass, Jen.
look, I'm sorry. I didn't get to comment on the kids who opted out, okay? I'm not ever going to hate on these kids for doing that. They just put their bodies on the line every freaking Saturday, all during the week. And they won these games. They battled. They did everything they were supposed to do. Everything that ESPN and the College Football Playoff Committee laid out for them to do, they did it with freaking bells on. I almost said a bad word. I'm going to try not to do this because I get a little feisty about it. But,
let it all hang out. We don't care. Let it rip, Tater Chip.
But again, I'm sorry. You're not going to, like, all these people, oh, this is a bad look. This is culture. No, the fuck it wasn't. What was culture is what you guys did to these kids. That was bad culture. That was bad sportsmanship. That was showing them everything that they've done. Not even just them, the coaches, other teams. It's not even just about Florida State. Look at other teams that aren't, say, oh, I don't know, Alabama. What are they doing right now? Why? I mean, you saw a bunch of coaches come out, such as Missouri, Eli Drinkowitz, that was like, this is bullshit, right? Because they know that's what they're looking at. These people are like, could that be us next? If Alabama, loses 2 games, and by the way, that's what they are now. And I kept hearing people say, oh, well, these playoff games are interesting. So the committee got it right. Well, you had people who lost already lose again. So again, it didn't really seem that right to me, because the best teams, I don't know, and y'all can remind me of this,
FSU would have
Win
done a bigger
games.
number. I don't give a
They
fuck what
win
anybody
their
says.
games.
And they'd have done
The
a bigger
best-
number.
The
Guaranteed.
best teams win their games. If I'm wrong, let me know if I'm wrong. But to me, the best teams that were in this playoff are now 2 losers. They are 2 lost losers, and y'all can miss me with all this stuff. I'm over it, and I didn't mean to go on a rant, but here we go.
Boom.
That's
I
my
love it.
thoughts.
Now, you want to go, Chris?
You can go first if you want.
We can go to the next caller. It don't matter, man. If y'all don't want to hit it.
No, let Kenny go. Let Kenny go.
Culture is just it's one of those words where it's so much that ties into it. That's a good point you made though, Jen, as far as like them ruining culture. Because the culture is, I know at least I was taught by Mama Shaw, like if you're gonna start something, finish it. And you carry that into college, and it's like, you finish out the year, you finish out bowl games, and they ruin the culture in that aspect of, in a sense. But as far as like the NILs and all this other talk, it's hard to build a culture in the locker room because these guys are maybe 1 year in, 1 year out, and versus, we created our culture freshman year when we fucking almost died on that turf field near the circus running our 110s. Like we finished out running 36 to 40 110s, overall in the 100-degree Tallahassee summer. And that was one of them times where we looked at each other. It was like, is this what we want? We got to get a championship. And I just remember that 2010 class, Christian Jones, Telvin Smith, just LaMarcus Joyner, all of us at that point, we created our culture right then and there because people think you create a culture on good times. Hell no. Like I just told you, that is a real deal scenario. We almost damn near died on that turf field running our summer conditioning test. And that's when we came together as one and said, man, we're gonna run the table. And as you see, each year it progressively got better. And each year we just got more balls to the sense where it's like, truthfully, we was kicking coaches out the meeting and say, hey, we just want to talk right now. So we had a strong ass culture where it's, it sucks because they're killing it because, you tell these kids that, you build brotherhoods, you can 10 years later, you see, we hanging out with each other and it's still the same vibes as 2010, 2011, so it's a little bit gone, but you can still get it back with just the right coaching staff, with the right fan base. And I feel like we have that in Tallahassee, out of all schools, I feel like we still have that still old tradition of just, we're gonna fight for what we want, and we'll be the bad guys, but you still got to see us. And I love that, at the end of the day.
Yeah, maybe Chris can speak on this part because with the tour duty and the way Norvell has done bringing these transfers in, unlike other schools, you see transfers stay for 4 or 5 years. Some guys 2, 3 years. It's very rare. It's a 1-year guy, and it's somebody like Jermaine Johnson, who's a no doubt top 10 pick. But for him to be able to do this so quick, it's pretty amazing. It starts with tour duty and is like, it's, I don't understand it compared to other people. The way Mike Norvell does it, it's unreal.
The word culture to me is just a cliche for an abunchment of smaller but yet more meaningful situation. Where I would go with this is what Kenny just explained to you as far as 2010, 2011, when they were running like dogs basically in a heat that most people would look up and say, man, fuck this. I'm not killing myself or anything. But at that moment, these gentlemen stood amongst each other and decided, I'm going to have your back no matter what. It's not just I'm going to finish this with you. I'm not just going to run these with you, but from here on out for life, I've got your back no matter what. You can call it a brotherhood. You can call it a culture. You can call it a family. You can call it what you want to. I call it the real ones. The real ones create leadership. So what I think Mike Norvell does and what the staff does is Mike allows all of his coaches to lead in their specific positions. But the most important thing that Mike Norvell and the rest of the staff does is they're not creating a bunch of followers. They're creating a lot of leaders. And when you start leading amongst each other on the field, and then you've got your brother's trust, because now Kenny can go the rest of his life and know that Telvin Smith and so on, they got him no matter what happens. It doesn't make a difference if it's life. Doesn't matter if it's on a football field. The difference is that they created that amongst one another and building trust with each other. And it's a different type of love, because we're going to be real. We're going to be real. It's a type of love that you'll go through thick and thin with your loved ones. And that's building a family atmosphere. You can call it whatever you want culture-wise. But when I think of culture, I just think of different ways that people do things different, and it's still a culture of the way they do it. But building real people is almost impossible. You can't take what God has done as far as creation beyond the manner of what you believe or don't believe. But men have to be molded. Women have to be molded. And that becomes the village that raises them. And then once they become leaders themselves, they pass that on to the next guy, the next son, the next child, the next stranger, because that's how mankind builds itself. And it's no different in football. It's just these guys are preparing to go to war each Saturday, each practice, because I'm sure Kenny will admit practices were a hell of a lot harder than the game.
Oh, 100%.
Back in them days, huh?
Yes,
for sure.
And that's another culture, man. If you don't get kicked out of practice, you're not doing nothing right in Jimbo's system, at least.
Yep.
He said he'd rather say whoa than giddy up, right?
Man, if you don't get kicked out of practice, you're not doing something right. You don't have that dog in you. And it's this culture, we just got to mold it back again. Like you say, you just tell the OGs, when I talk to them, or they like. I feel like I'm like an in between, because I'm a '90s baby. That I'm able to see both ends of it, and also I continue to like to learn. I learn from these youngins too. As I develop them in the football world, and we just got to adjust with time.
Yeah, and you got to be humble to admit that, but it's the truth, man. Just dealing with people, you're always learning.
Yeah, which is not easy, because Jen was saying it on one show. I guess the whole Travis Hunter thing traumatized y'all with the recruiting. So it's
right.
I didn't know all this, but it was just like, I get it, but these kids, you just got to adjust with them. Just have patience. That's the only, I don't know. Culture requires patience.
Absolutely. Jeff Hill, we want to thank you for the super chat. I just got home. I just want to say God bless everyone. Happy New Year, and go Noles. And one of the most generous, awesome Noles out there. You see him on all our shows, Jeff Hill. We sure appreciate you. This guy has been patiently on hold for about 10 minutes. If you're still there, man, you're live with the Renegade Rundown if you want to get a question in. You there, buddy?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, man. You're live.
Man. Yeah, first of all, I just want to, speak to everyone on the panel right now. But being a little biased, man, I always wanted to get a chance to talk to Kenny Shaw. First of all, Kenny, thank you for standing in the paint all year against old Uncle Silk and that Gator Kane Armand. Thank you for standing in the paint for FSU. But I've kind of got 3 questions for you, Kenny.
All right.
First one is, how do it make you feel to see former FSU players that gave blood, sweat, and tears to the program having to fuss and argue with fans on these social media sites as if they don't have a voice, as if they can't voice their opinion on what's going on with FSU? And the second thing I was going to say, like, when you were saying about y'all forming that culture running those 110s, I just thought about the freshmen down there on that field in Miami in the Orange Bowl. Those guys, those young players, they probably got together and said, you know what, guys, we never want to feel this feeling again. And that probably was their moment to come together and form their culture and brotherhood like y'all guys did. Yeah. And that's all, man. I'm not going to hold y'all up long, man. Thank y'all so much for letting me come on the show and, just say a few words. That's all I have, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you for coming on.
Not well. That part about the arguing with fans part is, I don't know. Sometimes, and I'm gonna be truthful, and I'm gonna be, we all humans at the end of the day. Sometimes those fans can get under your goddamn skin. They can say something. It's like they know a button to push. It's like they get their playbook and say, all right, how can I get under this player's skin? And it's usually when they attack the family online or they attack something that's close to home to you. So it's, they've been trying to mold us onto how to handle social media for a long time, starting like freshman year. We actually have to go to classes. We have to go to a lot of things just to be able to handle media. And it's no class to handle when they really push our buttons, which that would be a hell of a class to kind of orchestrate up nowadays, because it's even worse now. So I think nowadays you see a lot more former players attacking fans and talking in a sense because they're not as close to the university anymore. I have my troll moments, but I'm never going to go outside of the line to, I guess, in a sense, really crush somebody, because that's not going to do nothing to me. That doesn't help me sleep at night. So, and I still have close ties with the university. So I think when you see, like, I don't want to even name a name, but I saw one former player. I seen one former player bashing Bobby Bowden, and I was like, wow.
Oh, Lord. Well,
Hey,
shit, you can say that fucking name if you want to get into that bullshit. I don't give a fuck. That's ridiculous.
Hey, truthfully, I was like, wow. Like, I don't know if this story real or not, even if it's 100%.
Meat mate, ma'am. You're talking about shit for some reason.
Honest, go to therapy and talk about that shit. Don't put it online. And you with social media, you learn the hard way sometimes. And so I just try and, if you can see your brother, if it's somebody your brother or whatnot, just going crazy online, you just send a nice friendly text. I'm that type of teammate. I'm gonna send a nice text. Just be like, hey, bro, take that down and chill out a little bit. Like I don't like to let the world know that they tripping too. I send them a text behind the scenes because I want them to do the same for me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We all have our moments. Like it's you might let something slip and delete it, but when somebody, some people are ridiculous and they just been doing this shit for years.
Since we on the subject, each one of y'all, which was y'all worst moment when it came to a troll?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Chris, I'm gonna go with Chris first. Chris. So many things. You remember it too.
Oh yeah, I remember it. I won't go into the full details of what he said to me, but I troll Miami because they troll us.
Yeah.
And he is a former player at Miami, but he's now a big fan. It's not your co-host.
I was like, ooh,
no, it's not the co-host. No, Ahmad's been cool with me, so no, it's not him. But anyways, I was supposed to be coming down to Miami to go to the game when we were playing them that year. And he straight up told me, because of the stuff that I said about Miami, which was all true, by the way. I didn't troll in a way that it wasn't true. I used statistics and metrics and tangible evidence. So anyways, I trolled him, and he told me if I showed up and he saw me that it'd be the last time that I ever saw South Florida.
Whoa.
And I was like, wow, we're going that far. And he went even farther about how he would do it. And it's just wild.
Jesus.
I never said anything personally about him or anyone in his family. I just was statistically talking about where Miami was at the point in time of being dumpster juice. And he didn't like it. So he let me know exactly what he would do to me if I ever showed up. I showed up, he didn't do anything. But the point was, he said it.
This is a tough one for me. I haven't had a ton of like super crazy. I had one that was pretty recent that I think like people would just absolutely flip out if I mentioned it, of what kind of happened on the timeline a couple of days ago. but fuck it, I'll go with it. So me and Chris and some other people, we have done different spaces with different people. We're always like, we operate this shit, and Chris doesn't say this, or James, nobody says this. This is just what I say. I say it's kind of like how Joe Rogan did with comedy. That's the thing that I'm trying to bring to Florida State football. All of our different shows, we can all be friends. Everybody can come on. We can raise the floor. But we had a little somebody, a guy named Seymour, that we did that with.
Mhm.
And yeah, so he he was pretty good. He got some I'm broke, supposed to be broke stuff, trolls, this and that. But no, it's just some people project whatever they got going on. At the end of the day, whatever it is that makes people lash out and stuff like that, I wish them nothing but the best. But, you want to call me broke or try to, pick me out on specific things I told you about. I was running low on money here or there at a game or something. I'm out in the open. Like, I love this thing. I chased like a dream on my own, and we're getting there, baby. We're killing it. So I guess that's the biggest thing back and forth. We had a pretty good pissing contest about who doesn't work and who has to, delivers food to his wife every single day and got kids crying in the background when he's supposedly at the factory working. So that would be my biggest one, I guess.
Like, how do I miss this drama?
Well,
what in the world?
Shit happens, man.
I mean, I know I'm aloof, George, but come on.
Well, I figured I could at least talk about it for a minute and get paid for it. So
that's the first.
And we got about 306 people in here live. Hit them memberships up, super chats. We appreciate you. Jen's buddy just sent a super chat out. I forgot to read that one. Hi, Jen. Kenny is the GOAT. Facts. Go Noles. But it's your turn, Jen. What was your worst troll experience with somebody?
Let's see. Do I go through DMs or I don't know. I get some wild ones.
I know what bothers Jen the most, but just you don't have to go that route. What was the craziest thing, I guess? Whatever. Kenny asked the question.
Okay.
What was your exact wording?
So I will say that the craziest one was that they hoped I was RAPED and left dead in a ditch. I think that was probably the craziest one.
Yeah, because
Jesus
that can be
Christ.
super real too.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I could go to the other ones, but that's just unwanted pictures sent to my DMs, guys. But at least I have not gotten any since I said that the next person that sends them, I will repost it and put your name on it. Thank you.
Dick pics. Is it just like I could just only imagine the you know what? I'm just gonna change this subject because we're gonna fuck you all up. I'm sorry. Let's just not even talk about this. Your inbox is gonna get messed
Hey,
up.
that's interesting. That's interesting. Come on.
Nick Flair, I can't keep your damn super chat up here long because it's so damn long you cover up the whole damn panel. But I will read it real quick. Sam swam for FSU back in 2013 when we won the Natty. Kenny Shaw and Lonnie Pryor and Dustin Hopkins were some of the most humble, nicest guys I've ever met. Good to see you, dude. Nick Flair, I had no doubt, man. I gave you the whole Ric Flair freaking lead up when you called out the other day. So that was cool to know. I didn't realize it, man. Awesome shout out. Did you remember Nick Flair from back in the day?
Man, so I'm truthfully bad with names. I'm good with faces. That's the real truth. I'm
the same way. Well, hell, we appreciate the super chat, man.
But if you swam, I got a funny joke. I used to I forgot the guy's name. I was in tutoring with a swimmer. We was good friends. I forgot his name. And one day I was just talking shit. That's one thing about me. I don't think people now they realize it, being on a podcast and shit that, I do have a goofy bone. So he came in late, like 5 minutes late to tutor. We was waiting on him. And he was you can tell that he had been rushing in a sense. And I was like, what? I said, what you tired from? Belly flopping all day in practice? And you can tell that he went, like I spoke on the 110s. What happened in his practice must have been very hard. So he kind of challenged me, like, I guarantee you won't make it out of a warm-up in our practice. And I never took him up on that offer, but I looked up a swimmer's warm up, and I said, the next day I had to show my respect and say I do apologize for talking shit and the belly flopping. That is crazy.
Yeah, them boys are like wrestlers. Them swimmers, they're like crazy dedicated. Everything, the margins are razor thin.
Hey, so shout out to Nick, man. You know, that's go Noles. That's a tough sport.
Yeah, Nick's one of our favorite chat guys, you know, so that's why I was surprised. I didn't realize he was an actual Florida State athlete. We did the whole limousine riding, profiling, jet flying, and still just trying to hold these Gators down. We did the whole thing for him the other day. So we appreciate you, Nick, man. Keep the comments coming. Guys, we're getting really close. We're at an hour 55. We usually go 2 hours, so we are just about to get out of here. And man, we sure appreciate you guys staying for so long, Kenny. This has been a freaking awesome. So guys, get your questions in now. The line is still open. You can call, text, whatever you want to do. I got one pretty good one, I think, in here before we get out of here and get back to my questions. Let's see. It was, do you think we'll start cooling off on the transfer portal with high school recruiting picking up? And do you think there will be rules to cap NIL collectives like a salary cap? This is kind of a fun one. Does anybody want to jump in? Anybody want to start off particularly?
Yeah, I think they almost have to. I don't know what the future predicts, but I think they almost have to with the salary cap. Because then it's going to get like the NFL or pros where it's like, now you got holdouts on the camps. Now you got, I need this before I suit up. And, you know, it is becoming harder for high school recruits to even touch a college institute because why not go after a seasoned player over, you know, a young buck? This young buck got to be a super stud just to get a look, and it's very unfortunate because, like I say, like, you know, outside of the fun stuff in camp, like I develop receivers and push them forward to the next level. So, you know, I just try and tell them the ins and out of, you know, just basically being a dog, but they're up against so much. They up against the transfer portal. They up against a lot. So I know we adjust as fans, so imagine how much the players who are in it now have to adjust. So I just like to empathize with them in a sense.
I think they should go ahead and be employees. What do y'all think about that? Like, just go ahead and make them employees. That way you can have guaranteed contracts. And all these people, like, you know, Miami tells you you're going to make 10 fucking million, and turns out it's actually pay for play or something. And you make, you know, 30 cents like these kids have them. Chris, do you have anything? Jen, comments on that one?
No, I think Kenny had everything I would have said.
All righty, guys. Well, that's about it, guys. If you don't have any calls, you've got about 30 seconds. First time listener, what days and times are you guys broadcasting? So you can catch me and Jen every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. You can catch Chris at Spear Addicts every Monday, Thursday, and you can catch him Sunday on a members only kind of a space thing over on his Discord, if I'm not mistaken. Right about that, Chris?
Yep.
Jen Santy 1890 at Jen Santy 1890 on X is where you can find her. She does all kinds of good stuff. She's going on the Big 12 Mafia podcast after this tonight. You can also catch me and Chris Wednesdays, which would be tomorrow, on the Voice of College Football live stream weekly, and the man of the hour, Kenny Shaw, shawsraw.com, and go ahead and plug all your stuff. Let the people know. Again, if you've got kids that, you know, fit anything that he offers, be it his community stuff or football camps, go in and learn how to golf with Kenny Shaw, all that good stuff. And he's about to let you guys know exactly how to get involved.
Yeah, I'm on KShaw81 on all platforms. So simple, easy to find. You just ask questions. I'll eventually get back to you. And sorry again, it took so long to hop on the podcast. There's just
You're good, man. Hey, you're welcome anytime. Anytime something comes up, you just holler at us and we'll add you on. We really appreciate it. If there's ever anything you do on your own or have something, hit us up. If we can help, we'll be there. And I really can't wait for the spring game this year because it's going to be so much fun getting up. We get to meet Jen, everybody. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that spring game. Chris, Jen, anything for the people before we get out of here?
No, like I said, I'm gonna jump on this other podcast here in a minute, and but yeah, y'all hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions, or you just want to like or give me an impression. If you want to be a hater, guess what?
Haters, welcome to them. Engagements pay the same.
Yeah, thank you for that impression, dude. Thank you. I love it. So that's it.
Chris?
I'm just seeing that somebody's supposed to get a tattoo.
Yeah, he
I
said
don't know
that
what
twice.
it means. Kenny, do you know what this is? Like, I don't even remember this.
What'd you fuck up and say on the roll up?
Well, I think Silk was talking about his tattoo guy said something. And I have one tattoo on my leg, so I'm getting a leg sleeve. And we were just talking about tattoos, and I guess Jen
live on the air?
Yeah, Jen was talking
I'll
about
do it. Fuck
we were
yeah,
talking
I'll
about
do
our
it. I don't
tattoo
care.
placements and whatnot. And I think what you mentioned on your back, and Silk was like,
Yeah.
Not a tramp stamp on the top. I remember now.
Yeah. No. It was gonna be. I think now I remember. I think it would have been on the other because I have one on the top of my shoulder, and then I said I would maybe get one on the other side. But it needs to be classy, guys. It's not gonna be like a tramp stamp. I think I said that right.
Not gonna be one of them ho owls or one of them tramp flowers. I got me one of them howls right there. What you got? What? They think you're talking about a coyote or something. No, it's a howl, man.
I only have 3, but like then
my sister has one of those. I hope she's not watching. I'm just kidding, sis. Oh man, I think she got it lasered off. All right, guys, look, we had a blast. Thank you, Kenny. Thanks, Jen. Best co-host in the game. My guy Chris tugged me all the way up the ladder here. We appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you guys Friday, tomorrow, all the days. Hell, go catch Jen on the Big 12 Mafia. Go Noles.
Thanks, guys.